I would have looked to have hired key people and not tried to have done everything myself and delegated, which would have allowed me more opportunities to grow maybe a little faster.
From cornfields to high-rises, office to industrial, houses to hotels, and every other asset class in real estate, we cover the people, the projects, and the profit. Welcome to the Investing in Iowa show. This show is for go-doers, action takers, and business owners. It's for people like you who are sick of Uncle Sam taking a huge bite of your apple. If you're looking to get ahead of what's taking place in Iowa, learn who is doing what, and how you can get in on the action, you're in the right place. Hosted by Neil Timmins, an Iowa native who has been involved in over $300 million in real estate right here in Iowa. Recording in studio from West Des Moines. Here's your host, Neil Timmins.
I've got Bill Kimberley here on the show. Bill, welcome.
Nice to be here, Neil.
I appreciate you. You're making the time. Say, for the audience's sake, who are you? Where are you from? What do you do?
Well, my name's Bill Kimberley. I'm the founder and owner of Kimberley Development Corporation. We've been around for 47 years, and our offices are in Ankeny, but we build and develop land all over the whole metro.
47 years, a heck of a long run. Take me back, how about to the early years? Where'd you grow up?
Well, I grew up on a farm east of Des Moines, out by Bondurant, Farrar. So learned hard work, and my dad was a cattle feeder. So, you get up early and you work, and on the farm, you learn to do whatever needs to be done.
Yeah. Well, you get to leave when the job's over.
That's right.
There's no clock.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Where'd you go to after getting out of high school? What'd you do?
Well, I thought I was going to be an athlete, and, I was recruited to play baseball and basketball, and unfortunately had some injuries that kind of changed that direction pretty quickly, like it does with a lot of athletes. And so when I thought that wasn't going to happen, I basically set my mind that I wanted to own my own business. Then I always had a love for construction and design. And so I pursued all avenues to learn about that, and started my own construction company when I was 21 years old.
What got you into that? You said you always had a love for it. What was the first piece that got you interested in?
Early days on the farm, my dad had built his own house. My dad was very knowledgeable with construction, and we would build cattle barns and different things on the farm. And even from an early age, I just something that really clicked, and I really had an interest in it. And so I just fostered that love.
Yeah. So you started your own company, 21 years old. What were you constructing?
Well, we started with one house at a time, So I bought a couple lots in Ankeny, Iowa, and worked on that designed that myself. It's a simple 2-story house, and was really involved being on that job site all day long and building that first house. And I knew the one thing that I wanted to do is build a great house. And so that's what I did, and started with one house. And I had the next door lot, and people drive by, they'd see me out there on the job site. And then some people stopped and talked to them, and they saw that I really cared with what I was doing. And so then I built them a house. So it just kind of grew from there.
Slowly snowballs.
Sure.
I'm kind of curious, how'd you finance the very first house?
Well, when I knew I wasn't going to be an athlete, I knew there was one thing that you need to have to start a business. You have to have money. And so I worked on the farm, and then I got a job at Firestone Tire and Rubber, and I worked from 11 o'clock at night to 7 in the morning at Firestone Tire and Rubber. And then I'd get home, and then I would work on the farm. We had a lot of row crop, and of course with cattle. And so I worked there with my father and my brother. And so I didn't have much time to spend any money. So I sleep about 5 hours a day. And I did that for about 2-3 years, and I had a lot of money.
Sure. That'll get you started, won't it?
Yeah. It got me those first 2 lots, and, went to the local banker, and, who knew my dad. And so I had the lots paid for, and I had additional money also. And so he took a chance on me.
Yeah. What year was that?
It was 1978.
78. Still remember the house, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
Could never forget it.
1310 Northwest Greenwood.
I knew the address was going to come. You don't forget the first one.
Yeah.
All right. So then where do you go? What was that like through, through your early 20s?
Well, I just was getting a good start. And then if you'll remember back, that might be before your time, the interest rates went sky high,
Yeah.
15, 18, 21% interest
Right.
rates. So it was, businesses were closing. Luckily, that was near my start, so I didn't have a lot of debt, but it was tough. But, we did remodels and decks and, whatever we could find to, pay the bills and didn't have a lot of bills back then. So fortunately, so made it through that. But, it's kind of a blessing in disguise because it really taught me that I had to budget and I had to really watch the expenditures. And you don't go out and buy, after you sell your first few houses, you don't go out and buy the Escalade. And, you live within your means. And it taught me the value to really watch your money.
Yeah. That's interesting. A lot of builders don't get that.
When I look around and I see these young guys that get in this business and it looks so attractive to people, but it really is a hard business. When you look at how many builders have been around for, 20 years or more, there's not very many.
No.
They have a good run, but they don't watch their money and they'll go out and build a half a dozen houses and think, man, this is easy. And they spend it all. And soon they're driving an Escalade and they're building a big house for themselves, and then that tough time comes through and it takes them down.
Talking about tough times. So we get through the 80s, the interest rates level off, they come down, things seem to be good through the 80s, and then you get a recession in the early 90s. What was that like in that era?
We did pretty good in the early 90s, actually, because, again, we had a pretty good reputation, and our main business has been building fine custom homes. And that business still was good enough that we did okay in those times. The other thing that I did is I knew I wanted to diversify. So we also got a metal building franchise, and I went and got myself educated in building commercial buildings. And so we started also building buildings for small businesses, some ag buildings and things like that. So that was another good division that we had, and also started buying the first piece of land that we actually put in the subdivision. And then in 1989, I built my first shopping center in Ankeny, and I built that myself, leased it myself, and we managed that. It was kind of the start of me building a real estate portfolio to where we had that income coming in, and we weren't highly leveraged on it, so it had good cash flow, and that really helped the business grow and sustain any little downturns in the housing.
Yeah. What year did you buy that first piece of dirt to do your own development?
That was 1988.
How big was the piece?
It was an 80-acre farm. It was west of Ankeny, out by Saylorville Lake. It was a lot that had 1 to 2 acre lots, and prime for what we do.
What drew you to that, to buy that piece of ground, to go in the development piece? Was something taking place in the greater building environment that prompted you to kind of lay it down here? Or was it just simply diversification? Let's find some additional income streams.
Well, I always wanted to broaden out from just being a home builder. I wanted to get into the land development. I knew that if you controlled the land, you could kind of control your destiny. And instead of paying retail for a lot, you hopefully could make money on the land development part of it. And also, by nature of being the developer, you be the prime builder for that area. Now, we sold some lots, but we built a lot of homes on those. Yeah. Ankeny and its proximity to Saylorville Lake, there was all that beautiful land out there, and it really had not been really developed yet. So there was a lot of opportunity out there, and I saw that.
What did you learn going through that process of development?
Well, that was a learning process. You kind of step into things, and you don't have all the answers, but fortunately, God-given ability was a quick learn, and it really went quite well. And I loved the land development part of it. I love that, taking a piece of land and having the vision and what can I do with it and what would make this, how can I develop this to where people's going to want to live there? Yeah. And so it went good.
On the investment side, you chose to go to the retail side of things. Why retail versus anything else?
I guess residential rentals, I just could always see how management intensive those could be.
Sure.
And I just felt like I didn't have the time for that. Yeah. And I could see all the problems with residential rentals. So I just always, especially since we were doing the commercial buildings, that got my mind thinking more commercial. And, the retail, any in that time was just really starting to grow. So it had a big need. And so I just saw the opportunity and did it.
Take me through the 90s. What were you focused on then?
Well, I built my second shopping center again in Ankeny, and that was 1992 or 3. And so that was a nice big project. Again, the business just kept growing and growing and growing. And, I believe in 1992, we built 54 custom homes that year, which was quite a bit because I had a small staff. Of course, again, was very, very active in all the phases, but I only had one superintendent and some guys under him. And that was a lot of custom homes to be doing with just one superintendent.
It sounds like a lot. I mean, customs, not spec.
These were 54 custom houses.
That's a different level.
Yeah, it's a different level than just putting up specs. Yeah. So we kept doing some commercial buildings. We were doing some more land development and, just steadily growing. Employees were growing as we went.
Any hiccups in that decade?
Not really. I actually retired.
Did you really?
In the 90s, and I moved my family, kept my investments, but kind of shut the business down, and I moved my family to Marco Island, Florida. We lived down there for a few years, and I wanted to spend time with my young children. Financially, I could do it. And so I moved to Marco Island, Florida, and I was the YMCA coach of basketball and baseball and you name it. I was involved with my kids, had my investments up in Iowa. And then I got licensed down in Florida as a Class A general contractor. So, and if people don't know what that means, Florida is a highly licensed state, right. And to be a Class A general contractor, you got to know your stuff. Class A, I could build a 50-story building. I was licensed to build anything. Yeah. It was the highest level of license. And so what I started doing is speculating on land down there. And there was great opportunity down there. Marco Island had really not taken off. So I bought and sold a lot of property down there and then started building some multi-million-dollar spec houses down there. So we did a few of those and those went well.
Hey, Iowa investors, this is Ava Baukamp, Chief of Staff at Legacy Impact Investors. Have you thought about adding real estate to your portfolio but don't have the time or desire to play landlord? At Legacy Impact Investors, we do the heavy lifting. Our team finds the deals, manages the properties, and handles all the day-to-day operations. Our select group of qualified investors co-invest with us, gaining ownership equity without opening a tenant email or responding to a maintenance call. They just share in the income, appreciation, and tax benefits. These opportunities aren't for everyone. They are for qualified, accredited investors only. If you want to learn more, please visit LegacyImpactInvestors.com to apply.
What did you learn about building in Florida, about things being different somehow, or not much?
Well, the whole construction process down there, especially on a barrier island, is all different. It's all concrete, hurricane things that you have to deal with. So that part I had to learn kind of all over. One thing you cannot beat the Iowa work ethic and the quality of Iowa people that do the work. I struggled with that because the quality is not the same and the work ethic's not the same. Anyway, that's one of the good things about living and working in Iowa.
How many years were you down there for?
I was down there 5 years.
And you returned home?
Yeah, I hadn't planned on coming home, but a good friend of mine, Denny Elwell, started calling me. And him and a few investors had built the Briarwood Golf Course in Ankeny, Iowa. And it was a housing subdivision built around this 18-hole golf course. And it didn't go very well for him. In fact, it was failing miserably. And Denny thought of me, and he thought Bill Kimberley's the right guy to save this development. And so he kept calling me and offering me deals to come back and buy this thing and develop it and build it. And finally, the offer got good enough that I said, I got to do this. So Denny and I made a deal, and I at first started flying back and forth. And then I realized that wasn't real good for the family, and it needed my full attention. So we moved back in 1998 and started building there and putting up spec houses and model houses and decorated them. And the problem back in 1998 and before was the Des Moines community of realtors felt like Ankeny was this small little town somewhere up by Ames. And they didn't even want to come show houses in Ankeny because at that time they thought that was too far out. So what I did is I started my own real estate company. And that's when most of your advertising for real estate was done in the Des Moines Register. And I contracted with the Register on the real estate section, and I bought the two center page, the wide open page. So it was on both sides of the paper. Bought that for a whole year. And I had a big spread about Briarwood, about my business, Kimberley Development, and about Ankeny. Because I thought, I've got to sell Ankeny so that people know that this is a place to live and it's right next door to Des Moines. Right. And so I did that. And all of a sudden, the realtors decided, well, this guy's selling houses. If we don't go up there and take our clients, we're not going to get a commission. And so I kind of forced them. I kind of forced the Des Moines realtors to start coming and taking a notice of Ankeny. And it really was the beginning of a great thing. And once realtors got up to Ankeny and they saw, oh, this is a pretty nice community, it's not really that far. I mean, I left my office in Ankeny 15 minutes ago, and I was on time for you today. So, I mean, it's really an easy drive to Des Moines. Yeah. And so once realtors figured that out, and we always had great product for them and spec houses that they could sell, and we had all of these lots in Briarwood, that thing really took off, and it's a beautiful development today. Yeah.
It's a first-class development. To your point, I remember when I got into real estate in 2004, 2005, I remember talking, I go up to Ankeny as a broker to take a listing or whatever, and I'd always get the question, are you a local agent? I was like, I don't know what that means. They're like, are you from Ankeny? I was like, I didn't know that we distinguished the difference between Des Moines and Ankeny. Probably even through, the 2010, where there was still kind of they're different places. Like, they are next door.
You're right.
They're not really different.
But Ankeny, it really had that separate identity. And so the people that lived there and did business, they were like really protective of outsiders coming in, Yeah. And so, I'm sure you ran into that. But, I saw the bigger picture. It's like, no, if we're really going to grow, we've got to become a part of the metro, and we got to welcome everybody in here, including other builders and developers. And, after years went by, not too many years, I mean, all the big players were wanting to be in Ankeny.
Yeah. Take me to 2000, the 2000s. So that was late 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah. So talk me through the 2000s.
Well, those early 2000s were great growth years. I mean, everybody was, just growing and houses were selling. Of course, the financing was a mess, and the whole world economy. Everybody knew, I think, coming into 2007 that we were headed for a slowdown. But I don't think even the brightest financial minds knew that we were going to fall off the cliff. And not just locally, not even the United States, the world's economy fell off the cliff. And those were tough times. Luckily, we had really grown, but I believed in never getting too over leveraged. I walked away from a lot of deals because I always try to look at, what if I'm wrong about this? What if this specific project doesn't go? Is that going to hurt us? Could that put us under? And if that answer was yes, I wouldn't do it. And I think so many people get caught up in good times that, those good times are never going to end. And they get too over leveraged. We made it through those times, but it was difficult. But we were never late for a payment, never defaulted on a loan. And quite frankly, if you look at the people that were the bigger players, not too many of them survived. They're pretty well all gone. Correct. And so there's lessons to be learned there today. I mean, people need to look at this.
What were you into at that time? You were building, of course. Were you developing ground at the time?
Yes, we had become fairly large in land development. We had amassed quite a bit of land holdings. We had developments kind of scattered all over. And we were building a lot more. And so it was difficult. The other fortunate thing is with these commercial developments that I had built, I had good cash flow on them. And my debt ratio was pretty low. And so that was bringing in a nice cash flow that helped sustain us and help us keep making our payments and everything else.
Did you buy anything during that time frame?
I would have loved to. There was such opportunity, but I wasn't in a position to do it. I wanted to keep a hold of everything that I had. The one thing that we had never been late for a payment, never defaulted. But yet the banks, and I was doing business with 5 banks that are no longer here, and they were all on cease and desist orders. And so then the federal regulators was coming in, wanting them to raise capital. The only place they could raise capital was with the solvent guys that actually were paying. And so I had these banks coming to me they would say the loans are non-conforming now, because this loan was based upon an appraisal when the ground value was this, and the federal regulators now say, you got to go get new appraisals and make these loans conforming. And what that would have done would have wiped out every bit of my equity, would have required me to come up with millions of dollars to put down again so that they could make their loan conforming. And I knew I couldn't do that, because if I did, it would take all the cash I had and it would literally bankrupt me, and I wouldn't be able to make those payments anymore. And so I stood my feet firm in the ground, and I basically won't use the words that I used to those bankers, but I basically said, I'm not paying you one more dime. I've never been late for a payment, and you're either going to stay with this deal, or I'm not paying you one more dime, and I'll go get the best bankruptcy attorney that I can find, and we will just get it on. And I said, yes, you'll take me down, but you're going to lose even more. And I said, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to WHO and KCCI and the Des Moines Register, and I'm going to tell my story. And I'm going to say how you, Mr. Banker, took a great business that was paying his bills and you put him under. And that threat worked. The bankers all backed away, and they all got paid their money, and they made their money, and they would have lost a lot of money if they'd have forced me to do that, and I wouldn't probably be here today. But I knew I was right, morally and ethically. I knew I was right, and I stood that ground, and I backed those bankers down.
It's incredible. You're right. They wiped a lot of people out. They pushed a lot of people in who were just like you, got caught up in it, but still paid on time, every time.
As a crime. And I hope a lesson was learned there, because those banks lost millions of dollars by doing that. Whereas if they would have said, we'll stick with you, you're a proven record, we know that we'll get through this. This time isn't going to last forever. And guess what? Those guys would have they would have made up their payments if they were behind. They would have paid those loans off. They'd still be in business today. And those banks would have made their money too. But they lost so much more by forcing them guys out.
Well, the day's always darkest right before dawn.
Yep, that's right.
If you're a house flipper, execute the burst strategy, or do double closings and are in need of money, Little Guy Loans is your go-to lender here in the Des Moines area. Time is money. Loan approvals in 24 hours. Closings in 5 days. Little Guy Loans was founded by Neil Timmins, an investor just like you. Since he has been in over 10,000 homes in Des Moines, there's never an appraisal. Houses, multifamily, and commercial property loans up to $1 million. Check out www.littleguyloans.com.
When did it feel like the tides had turned? What year was that?
I think it kind of started to turn, and we did buy up some developments that banks had gotten back.
Yeah.
Because we got the lots so cheap.
Sure.
And so we did do that, and we started building. There was that first time home buyer thing that was going on then. So we decided, okay, this will be a way to sell some houses, keep our good people working for us, pay the bills. And so we started building some real affordable, still nice homes, but they were small and they were basic. And with that loan program, we were able to sell quite a few homes. Yeah.
Oh my good Lord. We sold so many houses. Because in Des Moines and Ankeny, right, in central Iowa, 10 grand was material back then.
It was.
It went a long way to get something done.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. But 2012, I'd say, is when finally we could see over the hill and say, we got some good times coming here. And so it's steadily since 2012, it's just gotten better and better. These high rates have hit from, the inflation caused by COVID. And now we're in, I would say, probably the most uncertain times that I've seen with all this tariff action. The stock market doesn't know what to do. I've had 3 big houses and a big land sale, all cancel on me due to what's happened in the stock market, due to they don't know what's going to happen to their business. I don't quite understand it. To me, it doesn't make any sense. It promises that the economy was going to be better with the change of election. In my opinion, it's been a disaster, and we could be headed for a self-inflicted recession.
Yeah, so we're, just for the audience's sake, we're just past 100 days into the new administration. How are the tariffs or the threat of tariffs? We're really in a land of uncertainty at this point relative to how these tariffs are shaking out. It's a lot of unknowns. But how is it impacting, or is it impacting, the construction, the cost, the inputs, or is it just there's so much uncertainty? There's just inaction from the side of buyers to go, what am I going to do at this point?
The buyers are still there. This has scared off a lot of buyers. The older people that are depending on their 401, or their retirement funds in the stock market. So it is scaring people off, but there is still business there. But the problem of it is we just don't know what our pricing is going to be. But when we sell a house, we lock a price in for people. We don't say, well, we think it's going to be about this much, but you may pay us more. No, we bid the house and there's your price. If the prices go up, we would eat it. Now, we're doing our best to try to lock those prices in, but there's so many of the suppliers that just say, we can hold it for 30 days, but after that, we're going to be bringing in new inventory, whether it be lumber from Canada, all the things, appliances that are made in all overseas or in Mexico. And there's so many products that affect or even indirectly affect. And so this is really an uncertain time. A lot of turmoil. Well, we're talking to our suppliers almost daily, trying to lock in our prices. We're trying to get people to commit. The sooner they commit, the sooner we can lock prices in. Indecision is probably not a good thing to do right now. Prices certainly are not going to go down. We know that. They're not going to go down, and they could go up severely. All we can do is hang on, try to keep going as hard as we can. And, I can tell you this, I'm not buying any more land right now.
I don't think a lot of land, even those who own it, unless you're in the middle of developing it today, I suspect you're just going to wait and see.
Yeah, we're not we've got plenty of lots. We developed, I think it was in 23, might have went over to 24, but we developed 660 lots. We're now one of probably the largest residential land developers in the greater Des Moines area. And we have a lot of land in inventory, and it's, that's a scary thing.
Prices are not coming down anytime soon. You and I both read the same headlines on affordability, or affordability has become a big problem, right? You couple price increases with where interest rates are, things become even less affordable.
Right.
How does this thing play out over the course of the next 1, 2, 3 years? Are we headed for some level of significant? Is it going to look like 08 again? What do you think it looks like?
Well, I don't think it looks like 08, because, that was the world economy, and this is kind of a self-induced. It's still going to affect the world, but, it's going to have an effect. I don't have the crystal ball, but prices aren't going to come down. They're probably going to go up. With that, how do you say inflation's not going to go up? And if inflation's staying up there or starts to increase, prices of everything go up, from groceries to cars to everything, houses, everything. We were all optimistic that the rates would come down, and now I don't see how the rates can come down. So that's going to be tough. I mean, high interest rates, high costs, that starts to have an effect. Now, if you have full employment and businesses are making money and everybody keeps getting their increases, we will adjust and keep going. But there's a lot of businesses that, these tariffs could really affect them.
Sure.
And maybe now they're not able to increase wages, salaries. Maybe they're not able to, be as profitable. Maybe they cut back on employment. Those are things that we don't know the answer to, but they're things that are out there that could happen if we fall into a recession.
It's really unique.
And I just don't understand the administration, because I don't feel that we had to go to quite this length to put our economy in an upheaval. Maybe there need to be some tariffs to balance out the fairness of things. I get that. But these kind of tariffs we're hearing is just plain craziness.
They're wild numbers.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Just to put it bluntly, it's insane. And anybody that doesn't still recognize that it's insane, I think's got their head in the sand.
We've talked a lot about challenges and obviously headwinds. What's something that you're most excited about for this year?
Well, so far, especially in Iowa, our economy still seems to be good. People are still employed. People are still spending money. And that's the key to our economy, isn't it? I mean, people still have to feel confident enough that they, at least the masses of people, will still go out there and buy new cars, and they'll buy new houses, and they'll take trips, and they'll buy things for their kids, and they'll keep spending money. Because if people quit spending money, our economy shuts down, and, it's a domino effect. So luckily, Iowa, I hope, is not going to be as affected as some areas, and I think if that stays true, we'll survive it. We'll be fine.
Will you ever retire again?
I love what I do, and it's been the biggest part of my life, and I love it every day. I love it. I love to go. I don't work like I used to, but I still love to go in the office, still love to drive the projects. So I don't see it. I think they'll probably carry me out in the box.
Bill, you ready for the final 3 questions?
Sure.
If you had one piece of advice for your 20-year-old self, what would it be?
I'd probably, at my 20-year-old self, 21 if I'd started my business, I probably would have looked, probably not at that time with such high interest rates, but I think I would have looked to have hired key people and not tried to have done everything myself and delegated, which would have allowed me more opportunities to grow maybe a little faster. But it's been a pretty good run the way it's went. So I don't know.
2 books that changed your life.
2 books. Well, I am a Christian, and so you got to put the Bible up there, okay? You got to put that up there. That's pretty hard to not get a lot of good life advice there, right? The second book, that's a hard one. There's a lot of books. Probably the book that I have enjoyed reading, there's several books, but the author is Willie Nelson. And he's written like 3 or 4 books. And I'll tell you what, that guy, if you read his books, man, he's had all the ups and downs. And And man, he has a way of telling a story. So I'd say it'd be the Willie Nelson books.
Cast away on an island for a year. You can only get 3 pieces of data about your business each and every month. What 3 things must you know every month to know how your business is running?
How many sales we had, how much money we made on those houses or not. The third thing, probably the status of my employees.
Bill, it's been a fantastic conversation. I'm sure I could talk to you all day. What is, I've asked lots of things, but what's one question I did not ask that I should have asked?
You asked a lot of good questions. I don't really have one off the top of my head. I think we covered it.
For people, they want to find you, follow you, connect with you, learn more about Kimberley Development. Where can they go? What should they do?
Well, our website, and that is kimdev.com, www.kimdev.com, and that's KIMDEV.com. All of our houses are on there. All of our developments are on there. All the information about our company, all the information about how you can go through the process and build a new home for yourself.
Links below in the show notes, everybody. Bill, I appreciate you being here.
Okay, thank you, Neil.
Thanks for listening. If you're enjoying the show, may I ask a favor of you? Naturally, subscribe so you never miss an episode. But would you rate and leave an honest written review on Apple Podcasts? It does a lot for us here at the show, and I appreciate reading your thoughts. Great guests make for a great show. If you know of another Iowan who would be a great guest, or you yourself have interest in being a guest, well, get on our radar. Visit Investing in Iowa to fill out an application or recommend a guest. And if you want to connect with me one-on-one, go to LegacyImpactInvestors.com. Click on the Invest With Us button in the top right corner, and there you can pick a time for the 2 of us to get on the calendar and connect. Until next time, keep investing in Iowa.